So this morning, I felt to share a talk on the essential teachings of the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, because I talk so much about Alma, who's been a primary teacher. She's certainly my Sat Guru, but Thich Nhat Hanh has been such a core teacher in my life, and I know in the life of many of you. Thich Nhat Hanh is in case you don't know, he was a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. And his short name is Thai. Thai is a Vietnamese word for teacher. So, he has been such an important teacher for me. And he's had a worldwide impact, over 70 years of teaching. And as many of you probably know, he passed on January 22nd, 2022. But he would always say that we, the Sangha, the spiritual community, are his continuation body. I love how he puts that, continuation body, that we continue his body, that we continue his beingness in the way that we live, in the way that we're deeply present, in the way that we put his teachings into practice each day. A lot of people don't know that he taught at Princeton Seminary, and he also taught at Columbia University. He taught Buddhism at Columbia, which I thought was pretty neat. And he was such an inspiration to a lot of people, one of which was Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. and him became fast friends. It was, of course, the 60s. It was kind of an intense time. And Martin Luther King Jr. nominated Thai for the Nobel Peace Prize. And I personally think Thai should have won that 10 times over, because I don't know anybody that was more an embodiment of peace than Thich Nhat Hanh, really. Here's something he wrote about peace. He said, by the way we live our daily life, we contribute to peace or war. It is mindfulness that can tell me I'm going in the direction of war, and it is the energy of mindfulness that can help me make a turn and go in the direction of peace. I love that. And the Dalai Lama said that Thich Nhat Hanh shows us the connection between personal peace, inner peace, and world peace. Have you noticed there's a connection? Yeah, there's a big connection. And of course, we know that personal peace, inner peace, has everything to do with our state of mind. How's your state of mind? So? Challenging. It's been a bit challenging. I saw a funny meme that read, my mind is like an internet browser. I have 14 tabs open, 5 are frozen, and I don't know where the music is coming from. It's such a good analogy. It's such a good analogy. We could think of mindfulness, being mindful, as a concentrated, refined, focused mind that just has one tab open, the inner peace tab. If too many tabs are open, it's like information overload, TMI, right? Too much information, and we feel scattered and overwhelmed. A lot of times it's negative information. And it drains us of our optimism. It can make us feel despair. When we've got tabs that are frozen, it's like we're short-circuited and we're stuck. And a lot of times, I think what we're stuck on is anxiety. We're stuck in the anxiety mode. I had so much fun laying in bed last week, listening to one anti-anxiety meditation after another. I decided I was going to do a survey, right? And find the very best. I must listen to 10. And there are some really good ones. There's some real support out there you can find. So mindfulness could be described as an organized and trained mind, a mind that's focused and clear, that knows how to breathe in calm and breathe out ease and relax, right? I want to finish my talk on the 5 mindfulness trainings. So today I did the first 2, and today I'm going to do the last one. I'm not doing them in order. But the last one, let me read it to you. Awareness of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption. I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society, by practicing mindful consuming. I vow to ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body and my consciousness. So, aside from not consuming a physical diet of any food and drink that's unhealthy, it means being vigilant about cultivating our mental diet. And I think there's a real balance to being informed and also, being mindful of our consumption. So, we keep ourselves in balance. Thai talks about a mental diet that helps us transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in ourselves and our society. That's why I researched all the anti-anxiety meditations, because they are such support in helping us transform fear, because anxiety is fear, right? It's too much future, right? Too much future. So we want a mental diet that helps us transform fear and transform anger and transform violence and transform confusion, right? I remember when 9/11 happened, I met Thich Nhat Hanh. I saw him speak 2 days after 9/11 happened. Everybody probably remembers where you were on that morning. I didn't have a TV. I was living in a cabin in Mount Shasta on 8 acres. No TV, but my mom called me and told me what happened. And, it was, Thich Nhat Hanh was already in Berkeley to give a talk at the university at UC Berkeley. And I was so grateful because, of course, the planes were grounded, but he was already there. So the very next day after 9/11, 9/12, I gave a service in Mount Shasta, just an impromptu healing service. And then the next day, drove down with a friend to see Thich Nhat Hanh. And I'll just never forget the energy of when he first walked out on the stage. I mean, if you've ever seen him walk, it's more like a cloud. It's like a cloud of peace, the way that he moves. And there's so much presence. He's so present in every millisecond of each breath and every step, because he practices walking meditation every day, and no one can walk as slow. If you ever walk with him, you really slow down. You slow way down. But he walked out on the stage, and immediately, because I felt the whole 4,000 of us really in shock. Everybody was in so much shock and fear and contracted. And as he walked out, as he floated out like a cloud, I just felt everyone start breathing. I could immediately feel the change in the atmosphere by his mere presence. And then his monks and nuns walked out behind him, and they floated equally. They floated in their way, and they all brought that beautiful energy onto the stage. And we all just started feeling peace. And I have to say that Dharma talk, it was the most powerful Dharma talk that I've ever heard. He was embodying the Buddha. He was fully the Buddha. And there was just this collective sigh of relief, and everybody was releasing those energies of shock and fear, and loving kindness was returning to us. And it was so neat because I found an article years later where he talked about that evening. And, how that was a profound evening for him, too, to be with us all these Americans, to happen to be in our country and be able to serve us in that way. And this is what he said in the article. I quoted it. He said, "I reminded everyone that responding to hatred with hatred will only cause hatred to multiply 1,000-fold. And that only with compassion can we transform hatred and anger. I invited them to go home to themselves and practice mindful breathing and mindful walking to calm down their strong emotions and allow lucidity to prevail. Only when we understand can compassion arise. And when the drops of compassion begin to form in our hearts and minds, we can begin to develop concrete responses to a situation." I just love that. Great spiritual teachers always turn us back to compassion. They turn us back to looking more deeply. They turn us back to calming our hearts, calming our nervous systems, calming our minds, and getting back in touch with our truest nature. And we can do that so simply by mindfully breathing, by just breathing in, I have arrived, Breathing out, I am home. I have arrived. I am home. This is we can do it sitting or we can do it walking. I've been doing it walking in the park this week. And I walk pretty fast, so I say I have arrived for 4 steps, and then as I exhale, I am home for 5 steps. And sometimes I shorten it to here, now. Here, now. Because I ask myself, something else I learned from Thai, is anything really wrong with this moment now? This is what we have to do over and over now, right? Because I think a lot of our minds are in too much future. We're in anxiety. So is anything wrong with this moment now? This moment is beautiful. I'm looking at these most beautiful people in the world right now. And we're all feeling our hearts, and we're being nourished by the Dharma. We're nourished by the music, by our communion, our togetherness. Here and now, everything's okay. Thai says mindfulness is the energy of being aware and awake to the present. It is the continuous practice of touching life deeply in every moment. Like, what if we only have today? You really don't know how much time you have. You want to touch each moment deeply today, right? I love Thai's books. I recommend them. I have them all. I had them all till the fire, but I've regained many of them. But he has a book of gathas, and gathas are mindfulness verses. They're so helpful. I had one, back when I had a landline, I had one taped to my desk by my landline that said, words can travel thousands of miles. May my words create mutual understanding and love. May they be as beautiful as gems, as lovely as flowers. And I would say that before I answered the phone. Sometimes I'd answer the phone and say it to whoever was on the phone. And that was always really interesting when it was a business call or something. Oh, okay. You say so. Another really amazing time I had with Thich Nhat Hanh. Did anybody ever do his retreat at Merritt Lake in Oakland? Yeah, some of you were there. So I was on a retreat with him there, and one morning, the first full day, we chanted all morning, and he had this beautiful senior woman monk who sang a lot of the songs, and the chants were so precious, and they were so similar to many chants that I've written. And I had just recently recorded a chant CD. I actually had 2 of them. So after that session was over, I practiced walking meditation towards the stage as I was watching Thich Nhat Hanh float like a cloud off the stage. And then we were walking towards each other, and I was really breathing mindfully. And then I looked up, and he looked at me, and he smiled. And I had my 2 CDs in my hand, and I went up, and I said, I just thanked him so much for his life and for his teachings and the blessing that he was. And I said, I made these CDs for chanting. And they're similar to the chants that you're sharing, and I thought you might enjoy them. And he held his hands out and received the CDs like they were the most precious jewels he had ever seen. He took those CDs into his hands, and then he looked into my eyes, and he smiled this beatific smile and said, I'll listen to them tonight. And I knew he would, right? He wouldn't just say that, right? So I was in bliss for days. I don't know, I floated away in bliss, and I received such a transmission, such a darshan from his presence and the enormous blessing of it. And so, yes, I just feel like I carry him with me. And one of the other teachings that I love that he offers is he has 4 mantras for loving speech. I've always loved this teaching, so I share it at all my retreats. The 4 mantras for loving speech, the first one is, I am here for you. Such a simple thing. You know, while I was laid up in bed, I so appreciated the people that let me know that. I am here for you, a very simple thing. The second one, I know you are there and I'm very happy. That's just to acknowledge that you're so happy to be with the beloved. I know you're there and I'm very happy. The third one is, I know you suffer, and that's why I'm here for you. That's a powerful one, because I think we try to put on a happy face, and it's such a relief when somebody says, I know you suffer, and that's why I'm here for you, and it's okay, you don't have to be anything other than how you feel right now, I'm here. And the last one is, I suffer, please help. And that's a hard one sometimes, isn't it? That's a hard one to reach out and say. But if we all agree that we'll be there for each other, and maybe, just once a week, we'll call one person and just share one of these mantras for loving speech. I know you're there and that's why I'm happy. Or I suffer, please help. Can you just listen to me for a few minutes? Yeah, that's what I felt when I met Thai. I just felt, I'm here for you. He's so present and so smiling and awake in his beingness. So I suggest memorizing those 4 mantras, right? I suggest memorizing them. The other thing that I have shared before, but I like to remind you, is that I learned from Thai is that when you walk, imagine you're planting lotuses. And make a habit of planting lotuses when you walk. And the thing, if you do this, it's a very sacred practice, because one of the first things that happens is you feel a sense of your own holiness. I mean, come on, you're planting flowers with your footsteps, right? And you just imagine that as you lift your foot, a flower is blooming, a lotus is blooming behind you. And so it's a way that you're feeling your own divine nature blessing, and then you're also receiving a blessing from the earth, because you're aware of your foot touching the earth. I love that practice so much. You're receiving from the earth too. Thich Nhat Hanh says, we walk all the time, but usually it's more like running. And our hurried steps print anxiety and sorrow on the earth. Our hurried steps print anxiety and sorrow on the earth. She's a being. She feels. If we can take one step in peace, we can take 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the peace and happiness of humankind and the earth. Just love that. So another practice that Thai had is for people who can't walk. He had a stroke when he was, in 2014 he had a stroke. And so he says, choose to watch someone in walking meditation and become one with them. Follow their steps in mindfulness. And so he would still go out with his group in his wheelchair, and he would, watch someone walking with mindfulness, and he would merge with them. I do this at the playground. I love watching the kids play there in Lithia Park. And they're so full of joy. They're just so happy to be alive. Their bodies move in all kinds of wild ways, and it's just an effortless joy that they're in. And I catch it, I just merge with it and feel I'm still that little girl that's just having so much fun being in a body. We can watch eagles fly. We can merge with that energy. We can watch ducks swim across the pond, right? We can feel the beingness in all forms, right? Not just this one we inhabit. But I remember the day Thich Nhat Hanh passed, Facebook was flooded with all his teachings. I have a lot of friends that, were sharing all these wonderful teachings. And I really loved especially the teachings on death and non-death, the teachings on what a continuation body is. And, he talks about how, we can all live as one great continuation body. And I feel that way about my mom. I'm her continuation body. All her teachings and all the wisdom she gained and that she shared with me, I'm continuing that. I'm her continuation body in how I live. But Thai talked about how, he said, I have a disciple in Vietnam who wants to build a stupa for my ashes when I die. And he wants to put up a plaque that says, here lies my beloved teacher. And I told him, don't waste the temple land. He said, do not put me in a small pot and put me in there. He said, I don't want to continue like that. It would be better to scatter the ashes outside to help the trees grow. And I suggested if they still insist on building a stupa, have the plaque say, I am not in here. But in case people still don't get it, a second plaque can say, I'm not out there either. And if people still don't get it, then you can put up a third plaque that says, I may be found in your way of breathing and walking. I may be found in your way of breathing and walking. Thai said, this body of mine will disintegrate, but my actions will continue me. In my daily life, I always practice to see my continuation all around me. If you think that I'm only this body, then you've not truly seen me. When you look at my friends, you see my continuation. When you see someone walking with compassion, you know he is my continuation. So in sharing Thai's teachings today, in breathing in calm and breathing out ease, I am part of his continuation body, and you are with each breath. The way that you speak and walk in peace, you are part of his continuation body. So in closing, we can so beautifully be the continuation of our spiritual teachers. You know, whether it's Thich Nhat Hanh or whether it's Jesus, whether it's the Divine Mother, you know, we are a continuation of divine life. We can be. And we can make a concrete commitment to be this continuation body. It can be as simple as spend 10 minutes a day planting those lotuses. Just walk with awareness. Take time to call a friend and say, I'm here for you. Right? Or I know you suffer. That's why I'm here for you. Thai says our own life has to be our message. So I'll leave you with one of my favorite last little gathas that I memorize, and I say it most mornings when I wake up. Waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live each moment fully. I vow to live each moment fully and look upon all beings, everyone, with eyes of compassion, including myself. Thank you all. Thank you all. You are the continuation body of love. Thank you. Let's say that together. I am the continuation body of love itself. Yeah. I am the continuation body of love itself. Thank you all. Love you all.